Bonjour and welcome to this Sentinel leveling guide. Today I'm going to show you what I believe is the strongest leveling overall in the game right now. So not only for Sentinel, and this is for multiple reasons that I'm going to go into details during the video, but just a quick TLDR. Sentinel, especially the Paladin, got buffed a lot, especially in the passive tree. So if I open my Paladin passive tree right now, a lot of the nodes are not very interesting. They changed that a lot. We also have sigils that are going to be automatic now. We also gain 2 points into sigils. You see, to grab an extra sigil here, I need 4 points, but now it's only going to be 2, meaning that this is going to become 5 points instead of 3, or this becomes 3 points instead of 1, depending on if you want to max the block or the increased damage. We also don't care about volatile reversal at all now. It's gone. Basically, all the more damage taken, those two nodes, they are gone. The whole tree is reworked, and now it's not giving as much damage as before. So we don't even go for a volatile reversal. And this build has insane amount of regen, insane amount of defense. If you look at my stats, for example, look at my res. Those are my reses without having any suffix that give me res. So I'm nearly capped on everything. I'm just getting a lot of res with the implicit of the items and stuff. But it's just giving you an idea of how easy it is to cap your res. You're going to get a lot of health as well with the build. And a lot of damage. This is the build I recommend personally for hardcore. If you want to play hardcore this season. And yeah, very smooth progression, really high damage no matter when you are in the campaign. It scales really well into the end game. We have a guide on max roll for the Judgment Paladin, which I think is the overall one of the best, if not the best build for 1.2. Okay, another thing, I have other guides for each class where I release what I believe is the best guide / build for each class for leveling. And for Sentinel, there are other options than what I'm doing right now with Judgment. Actually, it's very interesting, I would say. Sentinel is probably the class that has the most variety in terms of build for leveling. Leveling is pretty easy if you go Paladin, because a lot of your skills scale. Healing, you unlock naturally your sigils. You have Holy Aura, so a lot of free stats basically on the build, and your damage is also scaled by your healing, so it's quite insane of a mastery for leveling. But you have, for example, Forge Guard, and Forge Guard you wouldn't really level with Shield Throw, although it's cool. Manifest Armor, it's very clunky. Smelter's Wrath or Forge Strike, I wouldn't recommend any of those skills for leveling. I would rather use Forge Guard to buff Forge Weapons. So Forged Weapons, the way you summon them early on is with Rive. That's what I'm going to do with this build, by the way. With this node right here. So whenever you kill mobs, you have 24% chance to summon a weapon, or you have 16% chance to summon a weapon on hit. And then you go into Multi-Strike with this. Directly using Forge Strike, consume all the stacks from Multi-Strike to summon an equivalent amount of Forged Weapons. Later on, you could also go for Vengeance. So right now, in Vengeance, where is it? Yeah, it doesn't have it right now, but next patch, in Vengeance, we will be able to summon Forged Weapons. So this is going to be good, but you will need to invest, I believe, into Attunement, if I remember correctly. And then you buff your Forged Weapon with Forge Strike. You have a lot of flat damage, more damage. No cooldown, so you can summon them all the time, more duration, more maximum Forged Weapons. In the passive tree of Forge Guard, we also got buffed. For the Forged Weapons. The Forged Weapons by themselves are also buffed. They got 35% chance, 35% more damage and 50% less damage taken, which was a huge deal going into Empowered, for example. They would die all the time. Yeah, Forged Weapon, insane damage, especially single target. The only downside is that they can die. Yeah, and the AI of minions is not that great. Next, Void Knight. Void Knight, insane changes. Void Knight, because obviously Volatile Reversal got changed. Devouring Orb, now you can use it as a buffing skill. It's gonna proc it automatically while you're moving. So you can use it to apply ailments, to get buffs and stuff. Anomaly didn't really get changed. This is pretty much the same, but Void Knight got a big buff to Time Rot. So you will play something else up until the midpoint of Void Knight. You see the chain. After the chain, there are gonna be nodes right here. They're gonna replace those nodes basically, and they are gonna, I think it's this one. They are gonna buff the damage of Time Rot by a crazy amount. So as soon as you get there and you have 5 points in this, which is gonna be the Time Rot node, I believe, you can play Time Rot on any skill that hits and that have some support for Void damage or Time Rot in itself. So you have a lot of options. Like Smite got a conversion to Void damage. You have Void Cleave, Erasing Strike, Devouring Orb by themselves, Volatile Reversal. You will be able to shoot out projectiles that will apply, Time Rot. You have all the melee skills like Warpath, Rive, Vengeance, Multi-Strike. You could also do it on Hammer Throw. You have a lot of choice, but obviously the better ones are going to be the ones that have a lot of multipliers. So Erasing Strike got buffed with that. You have Smite that has a lot of multipliers. Shield Rush as well. And yeah, because you don't really care about, for example, Rive. You hit a lot, right? But Time Rot is only 12 stats maximum, so you don't really care about it. You're going to hit that pretty fast, sorry. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So gearing is easy. So to gear yourself is pretty easy. Defensively, offensively, because you're going to scale both your regen and your damage at the same time. And you don't have a lot of pressure on your suffixes, because we are going to get capped resistance on most of them, just with the implicit of the items. Okay, now let's talk about how you play the build. So you're going to spawn with only Vengeance. So replace your default attack by Vengeance as soon as you create your character. Then you're going to unlock Warpath, which is a very good tool to get out of positions where you are stuck with a lot of mobs. It's also nice to clear early on. And then you're going to unlock Hammer Throw. Hammer Throw is going to be your single target and your clear. The principle is you throw a hammer and it goes back to you. So you can hit 2 times the same enemy. It's really powerful on bosses. You're going to do a lot of hits. And yeah, early on, it's going to carry you. Then at level 5, we want to respec our Hammer Throw by Rive to start leveling it up. And Rive, let me show you. It's just an ability that hits. I have a lot of attack speed right now, but you won't have as much early on. There you go. And Rive, the particularity early on is that you will be able to summon forged weapons. And the forged weapons are going to be scaling with the stats of your own weapon, and they are going to increase your single target by quite a lot. It's also going to help you clear. So my advice is, during the campaign, when you start speccing into Rive and you start getting those nodes that gives you a chance to get forged weapon on kill, focus the mobs that don't have a lot of HP. Just 1 or 2 attack will kill them. Most of them will die in 1 hit, to be fair. And on packs with a lot of those small mobs, you will be able to spawn 1 or 2 weapons, sometimes even more, and they will kill like stuff around. So just focus on those small mobs early on. Don't go on like big rares and stuff to summon your weapons. Always try to summon your weapons before getting to like a boss or a rare, that kind of stuff. You're gonna also unlock very fast your movement ability, Lunge. So Lunge, you need a target, and you just move to that target. That's literally it. We're gonna use Lunge for the whole leveling process. We're never gonna spec it. It's just gonna be there on our action bar. Then at level 8, we will have a second specializing slot. So what you can spec is Shield Rush while waiting for Healing Hands. And in Shield Rush, you want to grab Dark Rush, which will make you able to use Shield Rush with a two-handed weapon. So you don't need a shield to use it. And yeah, Shield Rush, let me show you. So let's say I'm here, and yeah, it's basically infinite duration. So if there is a straight line, you can go like however far until you hit a wall. So a tiny bit better than Lunge, I'm gonna be real. But Lunge is pretty cool because you don't need a lot of mana. It's like an 8 mana cost. Whereas your shield rush with a shield is 50 mana, and without a shield is 30% more mana cost. So it's going to be 65 mana. Next, you're going to unlock your mastery, meaning you're going to be able to access Holy Aura. So Holy Aura, put it on your action bar. At some point, you will also have Rebuke. It comes in pretty early, but you don't really have a use this early in the game, I'm going to be real. Rebuke is super powerful to tank damage. You can channel it for 2 seconds, and you take 80% less damage while channeling. So whenever you are in danger of dying, you just pop your bubble, and then it's going to stack all of the damage that you take, and it's going to deal 20%, not 20%, 20 additional physical damage for every hit that you received while channeling. This is spell physical damage. It's not melee damage. So this, if you're in big packs of mobs, once you release your Rebuke, it's probably going to one-shot all the small mobs and deal decent damage to rares and stuff. Then at around level 20, you will be able to unlock Healing Hands. So respec your Shield Rush for Healing Hands. And at level 20, you will be able to spec into Javelin. The particularity with Javelin is if you go there into Holy Trail, it's gonna, when you throw your Javelin, it's gonna make a trail of fire, holy fire, under the Javelin. And this is gonna deal a lot of damage over time to mobs that go on the Holy Trail. So by that point, you want to have Javelin on top of it. So I don't have it spec right now, but there's going to be a trail under the Javelin. And it's also going to put Javelin on cooldown. So Javelin is going to have a 3-second cooldown. And yeah, you want to use that on cooldown. Same as the Rogue, I would rather use that behind me than in front of me. The reason being is if, let's say, I'm on this bridge and there are a lot of mobs and I do this, of course, it's going to take a decent part of the bridge. But now, let's say it's not a bridge anymore and it's an open area, then you're going to have mobs on the right, on the left, etc. So what you want to do is you want to pull the mobs by just moving close to them, and then they're going to follow behind you in a line, even though it's like an open area. And then you can use your Javelin with Holy Trail, and it's going to kill all of them. But whenever you have breaches, like tight corridors, you can use it in front of you. It's fine. Then whenever you have Rive, you see, whenever I use Rive, there is an AoE, like a holy themed AoE. Those are Healing Hands procs, because you proc it with a Cleric's Hammer. And this is gonna give you a ton of healing. Like basically, after that point, you cannot die on this build. Yeah, you literally cannot die on this build unless you misplay. But if you play well, there is a 0% chance that you die after this point for the leveling process. After that, we're going to unlock Sigil of Hope at 15 points into the passive tree. Yeah. So Sigils right now, let me replace my Rebuke. Rebuke, you use it only on bosses, to be fair. You can replace your lunge for Rebuke. Sigils, right now I have to cast them, cost a lot of mana. Next patch, they don't cost any mana and they automatically cast themselves, or I don't remember if they cost a tiny bit of mana, but you don't even care about it. It's like a passive buff, same as Holy Aura, basically. You don't have to care about it, and you just continue to Rive and use Javelin on cooldown. Then once you unlock Judgment in the Paladin tree, you are going to remove your Javelin for Judgment. You will respec it as well, and same for Rive. You're going to respec Rive for Multi-Strike. The reason why we're going Multi-Strike is because of this node right here. Whenever you drop below 0 mana, you consume all of the stacks to restore mana per stacks. So this is more mana per second if you are at 0 mana than, for example, Rive during leveling. But later on, Rive might be better with a lot of attack speed and stuff. So just take that into account. This is just for leveling. And Multi-Strike has also some advantages. For example, you have armor and block per stack. You won't have always you won't always have stacks, sorry. You also have a lot of chances to get it on block, because 45% of the time that you block, you are gonna cast Multi-Strike, and it has a 3-second cooldown. So it's like extra proc, and the build is gonna be really high block chance. So now how it plays is you're gonna spam your Multi-Strike as a mana generator, and you're gonna spam Judgment as your mana spender. It looked like this, so sometimes I use my multi-strike without using my Judgment. And you want to stand on your Judgment. This is gonna heal you for an insane amount. Even during leveling, let me tell you, even during leveling, you're gonna regen more than 10k health per second. I'm talking per second. Your entire, like my entire health pool is regening more than 5 times per second right now, if I stack all of my judgments and I stand on my judgment. So unless you get one-shotted by a boss, you cannot die. You cannot die if you play properly. Yeah. Don't forget to use your Holy Aura for an extra damage boost. It's gonna cost 30 mana, but you're gonna regen your mana with multi-strike. I think it's worth it just to use it on cooldown rather than just using Judgment. Do not use your sigils though. Your sigils next patch, you consume them to grant you a buff that gives you DR. You do not care about that buff. You would rather have all the benefits from the sigils because it gives you healing effect, increased damage, and a block effect and block chance. Yeah, that's how you play the build. Pretty straightforward. Once you have your judgment, it's gonna be judging mobs, basically. Okay, now let's talk about skill tree progression and how you spec your skills. I'm gonna do that in the Elite Planner of Maxroll because we have a lot of changes to the trees. So it's much easier for me to show you that rather than in-game. So at level 4, we will be speccing Hammer Throw with the more damage node. Then after that, we are going to unlock Rive at level 5. So Rive is pretty simple. You are going to put 1 point here, 3 points into Forged Weapon chance on kill and on hit of bosses and rares. This is going to provide us with a lot of Forged Weapons that are going to give us a lot of single target damage, a lot of clear, like I already talked about during the gameplay section. Then we have Full Cleaver. This doubles the increased damage and chance to apply dots on your weapon. So you want to have increased damage and chance to apply bleed, ignite, poison on your weapon. And you want to have like a 200 weapon. This is gonna like skyrocket our damage. After that, we max the Forged Weapon node. And then we start branching out to double slash to skip the third strike because we have those 4 points right here. I max it out after putting double slash. This is going to increase our attack speed by quite a lot. And Rive also has a base attack rate that is super fast. And finally, we are going for challenge. Before this was increasing the mana cost, now it doesn't. So it's just pulling enemies towards you and giving you free slow chance. And yeah. At level 8, we are not going to spec into Healing Hands. We are going to spec into Shield Rush for a bit, up until we unlock Healing Hands, which is closer to level 20. So we put 2 points into Consuming Pass and 1 into Dark Rush. This makes us able to use Shield Rush without a shield, because we want to not have a shield with Rive. Remember the point that doubles the stats on your weapon, so you want to have a double-handed weapon. And then we are going for the mana efficiency, reduce the mana cost, because by default with this node it's going to cost us 65 mana. So at some point we are going to get our Healing Hands, and Healing Hands, pretty straightforward. First you unlock Cleric Hammer to proc Healing Hands every time you use a melee hit. This is going to heal us for quite a lot. Then we pick that node to make Healing Hands hit, so everything that applies on hit is going to get doubly applied whenever we use Rive, because Rive is going to apply a first hit, and then it's going to proc Healing Hands, applying a second hit. Anything that has on hit chance is basically doubled. Then Purity of Thought, this is to reduce the mana cost. Then we are branching out to the ward generation, then to the mana cost, and then we are starting to get increasing effect to increase the amount of healing in the ward generated with Healing Hands. At level 20, we spec into Javelin. Javelin, we want to go for Holy Aura. Holy Aura is a node that... Holy Trail, sorry, is a node that gives the Javelin a trail of Holy Fire whenever you throw it, but it also gives it a cooldown. But it's not as bad as you might think, because whenever it's on cooldown, when we spec into those 3 nodes, it's going to give our Rive 120% chance to ignite and electrify. This is not going to apply to Healing Hands, because Healing Hands, this node makes it a spell, not a melee. If we were to branch out to this, this would double dip those melee Ignite Chance and melee Electrify, because this will apply Rive and Healing Hands, but for our version, it's not the case. It's only applying to Rive. So this is also why you want to use Javelin, on cooldown to always have that buff. Then we have this point, which is going to give us a lot of flat damage for free on healing on a Holy Trail. Basically, every 5 increased healing effectiveness is going to give us 1 flat spell damage on Holy Trail. So we don't even need to have crazy gear to have high amount of damage on this. Or at least most of our flat damage is going to come from increased healing effectiveness and from the passive tree, thanks to the nodes right here, spell damage with a shield. So this is very comfy because this means that we can play with a shield without losing damage. After that, we go for the more damage over time on Javelin, and then for the more damage here. So those more damage apply to the Holy Trail, by the way. And last point, we go into this point for a bit more damage. But around that part in the progression, you will respec Javelin. That's why we don't really care about the last few points. At level 35, we spec into Symbol of Hope. Before they were called Sigils, just to be clear. And we would not do that before, because Sigils you had to cast them manually, but now they are automatically cast and they don't cost a lot of mana. So the strategy is to go for increased damage, because our flat is going to be covered with increased healing effectiveness and the passive tree. Then we branch out at the bottom, not at the top, even though this costs less point to reach for the maximal symbol. But at the bottom, we have increased healing effectiveness per symbol. Yeah, this is going to increase our healing and our flat damage. And then we branch out at the top, and you're going to see in the next setup, I'm still going to go with symbol. So we put 2 points here, remember. Then 1 point into Tetragram for maximum symbol. So we have 5 symbols with this. And then final points are going to be into the block chance and the block effect. This comes pretty late, and the reason why is that early, even into the when you start doing it, like for example empowered, you might not be block capped. So yeah, that's why I invest into block in the final steps of the build. I feel like it's not a defensive layer that is enabled with the gear that you have like early on. It's pretty much later on that you're gonna stack a lot of block chance and block effect. And it's going to be way more impactful that way. Level 50, we are speccing into Holy Aura. Holy Aura, you go for the Elemental Res, the Endurance, the Ignite, Global Increased Damage, Penetration, and then you go for the Poison Res and Element Cleanse. So this means that level 16 of Holy Aura, whenever you press Holy Aura, it's going to cleanse your element for you. So that's pretty handy. And finally, you're going to go into the increased healing effect. Okay, I didn't talk about Healing Hands, the final points. So I was here, I had 2 points into Player of the Fallen. So you get 4 points instead. And then the last 3 points are going to be into Guardian's Chant. So this is a tiny bit more ward as well. It's not going to be super impactful, going to be real. The big change is going to be when you unlock Judgment. So like I said, into Paladin at 35 or 30, I don't remember. I think it's 30 points into Paladin 3, unlock Judgment. So you respec Javelin for Judgment, and you respec Rive for Multi-Strike. So Multi-Strike is, because of this, for the mana gain per stack. You rush this, then you want to rush Perfect Steel for more maximum stacks. Then the attack speed, then the chance to proc it on block. Then you max the nodes for the armor per stack, block effect per stack, and then finally the stack duration. And for Judgment, we want to get to this right here to remove the cooldown, increase the mana cost. This is gonna increase our damage per mana consumed. So the mana cost is pretty good stat on this build actually. Then we are gonna branch out to the bottom. And then this is going to be a ping pong between those two nodes, Purifying Flame and Flaming Soul. So I put 1 point here, 1 point here, 1 point, 1 point, 1 point, 1 point, up until they are both at 4 and 4. And the final points are going to be in the duration. And there you go. For the passive tree, I also went with the Maxroll website with the planner to show you guys the progression because we don't have the new passives in game. We have to wait for the patch. So this is a passive tree that I designed, so we don't need to respec it. If you want to min-max a bit more, you can do a version at the beginning and then respec it once we get into Javelin Holy Trail. But honestly, it's going to be pretty similar. There are a few points into the base Sentinel tree that I would change. For example, like the block chance, I'm going to spec into it, but it's not very optimal early. You don't care about blood chance. You would rather care about, like, for example, flat damage, increased damage with strengths, or void and fire arrest, that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's going to be fine. Don't worry. Still going to deal a lot of damage, even though we don't respec. So first 5 points into Juggernaut, then 5 points into Armor Clad. Then you max Juggernaut. Then you start putting 1 point into Fearless, 1 point into the block effect and block chance, and final 5 points into Time and Faith. So this is gonna get procced no matter what, because we are always gonna use Rive or Multi-Strike, except for the first 4 levels, but at level 5, you spec into Rive. So this, once you spec into it, you will always benefit from it. And as you can see, it gains mana and 10% of max health. Or no, not max health, missing health. So this, on top of healing hands, makes us immortal. Like, straight up. Not even kidding. Then we are going to start putting points into the Paladin tree. So 5 points into Defiance. So Defiance, the 5 points threshold is really, really good. You get Endurance threshold per 2% uncapped elemental res. Early on, we don't have a lot of health, so this means that the Endurance is going to cover most of our health. After that, we put our points into Valor, then 1 point into Honor to reach the Heaven's Bulwark. This is where we shift the build once we have 5 points in this. So at this point, you unlock Symbol of Hope and you have 5 points into Heaven's Bulwark. You want to switch to using a wand or a scepter and a shield. So wand or scepter and a shield. The reason why we're doing this is we are going to benefit from having a lot of flat spell damage. We're going to be tankier that way because on the shield you can actually craft healing effect, that kind of stuff. And yeah, basically this build has a lot of synergy with the shields. So at 5 points, you switch from two-handed weapon to do wielding a wand or a scepter and a shield. Then you max those points, then put 5 points in Holy Icon. Really, really high value, this node. Healing effect, necrotic res, health, and even health regen. I mean, the health regen is kind of whatever, but the tree stats are absolutely crazy for one passive point node. Then Sanctuary Guardian. This is going to give us cast speed, armor, and all res. It's more for the all res, honestly, because the cast speed, we don't really care about it. We rather care about melee attack speed. Armor is nice, but the all res is kind of crazy. Then we want to put 5 points into Conviction to start increasing our damage even more. Then 5 points into Righteous Firebrand. This is a new node that is really crazy for the build. So not only you get melee attack speed, which makes us gain mana faster, we are also going to get Fire Pen for every 20 increased healing effect. And keep in mind, we can have between 400 and 500% increase in effect. Yeah, that's pretty much between 20 and 25% penetration and 10% melee attack speed for 5 points. So kind of crazy. And those are the best point in the tree for leveling, at least. Covenant of Light. So 20% increase effect of Holy Aura and Symbol of Hope. This means that instead of having 5 Symbol of Hope, it's as if you had 6 Symbol of Hopes. And Holy Aura is going to get way more stats. So all the increased elemental resistance. What else? The increased damage, the penetration. Instead of 10%, you have 12%. Etc, etc. Then we are going to go into Forge Guard. Forge Guard, you put 5 points. And by that time, you should have a sword instead of a wand and a shield, or a scepter and a shield. And this is going to give us 10% more, not more, increased melee attack speed with swords. Then we go back here and we max out Holy Icon. Then 2 points into Conviction, 4 points into Shield Wall for the block chance, the health gain on block, the less stun duration, 2 points into Honor for the block chance, 3 points into Steel Aegis in Forge Guard for the block chance and the block effect. Okay, let's talk about stats, item, and the progression of your weapons, because this is pretty important on this build. So early on, the only base that is important to deal a bit more damage, a quick tip, is to use Sunrise Emblem. So try to look in the shop if you have a Sunrise Emblem or not. We're gonna apply extra dots, and dots early on are dealing a lot of damage. After that, we're gonna use Rive, starting at level 5. So we want to get a 200 weapon that has either chance to inflict dots or a lot of increased damage, and the best base is at level 14 for that. Is the Cultist Chopper. A lot of bleed chance on melee hit, and this gets converted, by the way, to your forged weapons, because they do melee hits, and the forged weapon takes the stats of your weapon. So you better have a 200 weapon with forged weapons as well. This is going to give you crazy damage. After you have 5 points into the Paladin tree with this node, that is going to be called differently, by the way. We are going to get 15 spell damage when you equip a shield. So by that point, when you have 5 points in this, you switch to either a wand or a scepter and the shield. Really important to have a shield. There is this nice scepter at level 35 that gives us flat spell damage and increased elemental damage. The only downside of scepter compared to wands is the attack rate. The base attack rate is at 0.98, and most wands are above 1. So you're gonna attack a bit slower. But just look for the item that has the best stat, be it the scepter or wand. It's more gonna play on the actual affixes that are on the item rather than the base. Then at level 54, so by that point you already have your judgment, by the way. At level 54, you have the Nagasa Scimitar. This is the best base overall for the build. It is the highest attack rate base in the game, 1.24. It has increased damage over time as an implicit as well, so really, really good. And we don't really care about the flat spell damage not being there on the sword, because we are going to get a lot of increased healing effectiveness, which in turn is going to give us all of our flat damage. So we would rather have higher attack speed than having higher flat damage. So that's it for the weapon bases. Okay, now let's talk about the affixes on the gear. So I focused a lot on attack speed for the build to feel smoother, but this only apply after judgment. Before judgment, it's still fine because you're gonna apply a lot of dots with your Rive. But after that, it's mandatory to have high enough attack speed for the build to feel smooth. We also want to focus on damage over time, elemental damage, and mostly fire damage after we have judgment, because judgment is fire based. And after that, not after that, but also we want to have elemental damage over time. This is the most important stat for increasing our damage, elemental damage over time, because it scales way higher than other stats. I don't have it anywhere in my gear right now, but basically you would have double the amount of increased damage than if you had, like, for example, increased damage over time compared to increased elemental damage over time. Increased elemental damage over time, so good. Increased healing effectiveness, also super high value for the build. It's going to increase our flat damage, and it's going to heal us even more and generate us a lot more ward, because ward on the build is generated with healing hands. You have this node, so it generates 3 ward per 10% increased healing effect. So if we have 400, this is 120 ward. Then you have this also that gives us a bit more ward. So having attack speed is gonna also increase that generation of ward, by the way. And then for resistances, we are gonna get covered on quite a lot of resistances. The only one that you should focus with the gear is the physical. As a suffix, you should put it on, for example, rings or like pieces of gear that like are pretty free with their suffixes. Really, really important physical res for the leveling, probably the most important resistance. There is also this shield that gives us 75% poison res. So before you get this shield, you only get it at level 64. Try to build up a bit of poison res. This could be scary if you enter the monolith without any poison res. And yeah, overall, the resistances are pretty much covered. For the rings, it's quite interesting, by the way. I have silver rings there, because the build has quite a low amount of movement speed, right? It has 36%, and the clear is not insane either. Like if we look at the judgment, you put your judgment, anything that goes into judgment, it dies. But it's not like the AoE is super big. You could get, by the way, increase AoE. This is going to make it a bit better. But yeah, I would recommend having a lot of movement speed for the build to feel better and be faster. Obviously, movement speed equals speed, right? Then we have very, very good basis for the build. Solar Commandment. It has increased fire damage and increased healing effect. You get it at level 50. And you have Solar and Plate, which gives us endurance and increased fire damage. And also a lot of armor. There is also this helm at level 60 that gives us cooldown recovery speed, which we don't really care about, but it's mostly for the Void Res. This belt, we can afford going for that belt that has a lot of armor, because we already have our resistances capped. Arcane boots are the best boots for the build, because it gives us ward decay threshold, and this is basically extra health in the build. We are, talking of ward, also gonna get ward per second and ward decay threshold on the rings and the amulet. This has a higher priority than health on your amulet and on your rings, and I would say even higher priority than any stat. You want to get ward per second and ward decay threshold at tier 5 on both rings and your amulet. And I put plated gauntlets here, but you could do whatever you want with the gloves. It's just for extra endurance. Yeah, that's it for the bases. You can play around with a lot of the bases since you have a lot of the resistance covered. This is a character that is super easy to gear, honestly. The only gear pressure is going to be finding a good weapon and a good shield, I guess. On shield, by the way, you could also get plus all resistance. This is going to help you with your res and stuff, but prioritize the block chance rather than the res. Okay, now let's talk about the uniques. So the uniques, you can already see, have 3 gloves. But this pair of gloves is only found in the second timeline on the boss directly, so it's not a random drop. But it's going to give us up to 25% penetration for our damage, because we deal damage over time. We are also going to get slow on hit for free, and slow duration, and that's pretty much it. So this is for damage and utility. Wing Guards is really insane for the build, because we do not care about crits. We deal damage over time. So, yeah. And it also gives us haste for 1 second on hit. A bit of dodge. Endurance. Really good base. Then we have Swaddling of the Erased. So Swaddling of the Erased not only has increased attack speed, increased attribute, plus to all attributes, but it also has a more spell damage and a more melee damage. So during leveling, you're going to do both, and once you unlock Judgment, you're mostly going to do spell damage. So yeah, for bossing, kind of nice. Code of an Erased Sentinel. So the Weaver's Will relic for the Sentinel. +1 to all Sentinel skill. Pretty simple. Armor mitigation also apply to damage over time. We're going to have a lot of armor. It's going to give us increased armor. Pretty good. Also max mana. Pretty nice. Then we have Sunwraith. So this gives us fire damage over time. Increase fire damage in the base. So this is just for the increased damage. I'm gonna be real. A bit of fire res as well. So it's just a stat stick, basically. And then we are going into the big boys for the build. Those 3 items. So let me talk about the one that you get the earliest. The Fire Starter Torch. So Fire Starter Torch not only reduce the spell cost of what is it called? Healing Hands. So you can reach 0 mana cost pretty early with it. It gives us increased fire damage over time, movement speed, more fire damage to enemies affected by spreading flames. I have a pretty minimum roll, so it's pretty bad, but it's an insane stat, right? Because as you guys remember, we don't really care about the flat damage. We already get a ton of flat damage. The only downside is the base attack rate, right? Compared to a Nagasa's Scimitar. Nagasa's Scimitar would be more damage than this, especially since we have like double T5 on it. And the first line, the chance to apply, to inflict, spreading flames on hit. This is absolutely insane for the build. Remember, I was talking about the clear being kind of limited. This makes us clear just fine, because all of our damage, all of our increased damage is going to go towards elemental dot damage, and spreading flame is a fire dot element. So our spreading flame is going to deal enough damage in monos to kill most mobs, except rares. And then you just pop 1 or 2 judgment and the rare dies. Literally. It's super OP. If you can get one, that's the item I would recommend spending your Rune of Ascendance for. So on Scepter, I don't remember if it's 1 in 4 or 1 in 5, but it's between the two. So it's pretty likely that you get the Firestar Torch out of your Rune of Ascendance, and you can equip it for clearing echoes, and on bosses you have a different one-handed weapon. Then we have the Transcriber's Grave. So this is a sword, really fast attack rate, a bit of spell damage on it. That's nice, right? And elemental penetration as well. This is also the weapon that we're going to use in the endgame version of the build. Not in this guide, but you're going to see on the Judgment Paladin on Maxwell, they are going to use this sword. Pretty good. And for the shield that we have right here, this is a special shield designed for Judgment, right? It has fire damage, +1 to Judgment, and increased healing effect. So really insane, but it's at level 76, so not really leveling, but I had to put it in here because we are playing Judgment. So yeah. There you go for the Sentinel leveling. So in my opinion, this is the best leveling build in the game for 1.2. Super complete. You literally cannot die. So for hardcore, it's really good, right? But it's also dealing really high damage. And the progression is really, really smooth on this build. It's just a bit complex with swapping weapons and stuff, but once you understand how it works, it's really fine. Also, you're gonna find the whole build as a written guide on Maxroll. I'm gonna put it in the pinned comment. In there, you're gonna find the loot filter and the full planner that I showed during the guide. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you guys don't die if you play hardcore. And if you die, please send my way all of your rip clips. I like to watch those. And yeah, good luck for the release, guys. I'm gonna release also another video of a run for this character. It's just gonna be a bit bricked because of the difference in passive tree. You don't have to cast your sigils in 1.2, while in 1.1 you still have to cast them, that kind of stuff. So it's just gonna be a demo up until Abomination, like I do for all the other guides. So yeah, it's gonna come out before the release, maybe a day before or 2 days before, I don't know, we'll see. Yeah, bye bye guys.